я без проблем.
Но не спускаясь в легкий вес.
Ну да, ради чего? У меня был пояс в легком весе, меня никто не побеждал в легком весе. Я просто оставил пояс и поднялся наверх. Ради чего? Ради пояса, мне это не интересно. И если он хочет подняться, то он не доказал в легком весе. У него там очень много работы. Тот же Tsarukyan каждый день выставляет его.
Islam Makhachev has ruled out the possibility of facing Ilia Topuria at lightweight and made it clear he has no interest in moving down. He believes a champion should deal with the most deserving contenders in his own division before thinking about changing weight classes. In a recent
on Topuria to move up, framing it as a low-risk move for him.
Makhachev discussed his next fight and said his chapter in that division is finished, seeing no reason to return. Instead, he suggested that Topuria is the one who could move up, describing it as a low-risk option for him and insisting he has nothing left to prove at lightweight.
Ваших потенциальных соперников. Я понял, что вы в легкий вес возвращаться не собираетесь, но все же. Есть Илия Топурия.
Я открыт, я без проблем.
Но не спускаясь в легкий вес.
Ну да, ради чего? У меня был пояс в легком весе, меня никто не побеждал в легком весе. Я просто оставил пояс и поднялся наверх. Ради чего? Ради пояса, мне это не интересно. И если он хочет подняться, то welcome.
А верите в то, что Илия может подняться еще на одну весовую категорию?
Он может подняться, потому что он тоже ничего не теряет, если поднимается. Он проиграет, вернется к себе в легкий вес, и все, там будет легче.
Islam Makhachev suggested that Ilia Topuria should test himself at lightweight rather than chasing a fight with him. He stated clearly that he has no intention of returning to that division and believes there is still a lot left to prove there. Makhachev also pointed to Tsarukyan as the obvious matchup, noting that Tsarukyan has repeatedly asked for the fight and deserves the opportunity.
Вы сами считаете, чем вам?
100%. Я и так являлся чемпионом в легком весе, и я спускаться точно не буду. А ему, я повторюсь, что он ничего не теряет, если он поднимется. С моей стороны, и это не будет правильным звать кого-то с меньшего веса, который только стал чемпионом. Он еще ничего не доказал в легком весе. У него там очень много работы. Тот же Tsarukyan каждый день выставляет его.
Islam Makhachev later admitted he was surprised by how easily he was able to control Jack Della Maddalena on the ground. He explained that after studying JDM's earlier fights, he had already expected the main escape Maddalena usually relies on. Once he shut that option down, Makhachev realized there was very little resistance left, and from that point, he could keep him pinned for as long as he wanted.
И до меня он дрался с Белялом, и у Беляла тоже борцовские навыки, он переводил его. Мандалена хорошо вставал после тейкдаунов, и вставал одним и тем же приемом, там такой переворот. И я его повалил, и смотрю, он пытается сделать этот же переворот. Но я уже был готов к этому и защищался. И я понял, что у него ничего другого нету к этому, кроме этого переворота. И про себя говорю, и это все, больше ты ничему не научился, больше у тебя нет других навыков, чтобы встать в стойку. И тогда я понял, что...
Meanwhile, Sonnen shared his thoughts on a potential fight between Justin Gaethje and Gaethje-Pimblett, noting the common belief that Pimblett would need to take Gaethje down to have a real chance. Many assume Gaethje would hold the advantage if the fight stayed on the feet, but Sonnen suggested it's not that simple. Looking at the sport as a whole, he pointed out that outcomes don't always follow those typical assumptions.
Gaethje and Paddy the Baddy. There was a consensus that Paddy has to take Gaethje down, and that if you go back and you look over the history of Gaethje's career, people don't take him down. And meanwhile, the argument would be if it stays on his feet, it would go to Gaethje. Is it that straightforward? I don't think so. And based on what we've seen, I could see where you could come to that conclusion. I'm just sharing, if you follow the sport as a whole, we don't really see that.
Sonnen also voiced his support for Tsarukyan, saying he deserves recognition for his professionalism. He pointed out that Tsarukyan stepped in as a backup fighter on short notice and stressed that such commitment deserves respect and forgiveness. Sonnen added that he personally forgives Arman and believes others should do the same.
Fighter for UFC 324? What's his situation?
Can we please forgive him? Whatever he did to get himself in this weird purgatory, can we also remember that he agreed to be a backup fighter, that he did a training camp, that he flew out to Las Vegas, he went through the commission, he made weight, he was ready to go in on a moment's notice. You get something for that. I want him to get something. I want him recognized. I forgive Arman Tsarukyan.
Arman. Tsarukyan said he would favor Justin Gaethje to defeat Paddy Pimblett and is ready to face the winner next. He suggested that if Pimblett wins, he might try to avoid a fight with him, while Gaethje would likely be the more straightforward opponent to challenge.
To beat Paddy. Yeah, because Justin, he's gonna fight with me, but Paddy, if Paddy wins, he's gonna try to avoid me, trying not to fight me, because he's not man like
Paddy Pimblett questioned the hype around Arman Tsarukyan's grappling, suggesting it may not be as dominant as many claim. He said that watching Tsarukyan more closely has changed how he views him as a stylistic threat, adding that he now considers Ilia Topuria the bigger danger between the two.
How do you think you match up against him if you guys are to be matched up in the future?
I hope I eventually fight Arman because I want to shut him up. He's a little idiot. I'd love to beat him up. Everyone thinks his grappling's unbelievable. I don't think it's that good at all. You know, if you can't submit Shara Bullet, lad, who's a striker who can't grapple, then I don't think your grappling's that good at all. Before he fought Dan Hooker, I thought that Arman may have been a tougher fight for me stylistically than Ilia. But after watching that fight,
Arman Tsarukyan also questioned Paddy Pimblett's grappling, suggesting he is not as dangerous on the ground as his reputation implies. He argued that Pimblett tends to avoid facing elite competition, and said recent observations have only reinforced his doubts about Paddy's abilities on the mat.
No grappling. He trains with guys. He never compete even the high level. He never compete in jiu-jitsu or grappling. I saw him. He had a grappling fight, and he tapped or he lost. So he's a trash can in the grappling and the rest.
Paddy Pimblett fired back at Arman Tsarukyan, mocking his grappling skills and questioning his real effectiveness on the mat. He stressed that his own focus remains entirely on fighting. The exchange grew heated as Pimblett portrayed Tsarukyan's outside activities as unnecessary distractions and used that to intensify their mounting rivalry.
I don't want to talk about him, but how do you feel about his, his grappling tournaments?
Lad, I heard he nearly got triangled by what's his name?
Shara Magomedov.
Yeah, he nearly got triangled by him, and he can't grapple to save his life either. He's a striker, and he nearly got triangled by him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever got any interest of taking those sort of exhibition type things? You know, RAF have got this kind of like grappling thing. Is there ever been like a reach out for like let's do a grappling match for Pimblett, or is that?
I don't know. Before I was in the UFC years ago, when I was coming back from an injury, I done Polaris one time against Stevie Ray. He caught me in a leg lock. That's like the only one I've done in the past 10 years or something like that. I used to do grappling competitions all the time when I was younger and stuff like that, but obviously I'm focused on fighting now. I don't, like, he can go off and do all these other things if he wants, lad, but hopefully
Conversely, Paddy Pimblett addressed the backlash over his previous comments about Dan Hooker, saying his words were misinterpreted. He clarified that he never intended to disrespect Hooker's family and called the negative reaction unfair. Pimblett compared the response to his comments with the intense anger shown over his own personal loss, highlighting how quickly narratives can escalate in the MMA world.
Tuffer's probably a lovely woman, and I never said a bad word about his mum, but then he goes on and says something about my dead mate who can't defend himself. It was a bit weird. I had my friend's family messaging me saying what's going on here and all that, so like the way people have went on about what I said, but no one condoned what he said and said, what are you doing mentioning someone who's dead, is very, very strange. But you know, that's the MMA world for you. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, people will make me look like the worst man alive when I just used an analogy for how...
The gap between them is at its widest. Paddy Pimblett downplays Dan Hooker's recent streak, noting that he still sees him as a title contender. Pimblett insisted that the controversy over his comments was misrepresented, emphasizing that his words were neither personal nor about Hooker's family, while arguing that more serious boundaries had been crossed and questioning why he is being portrayed as the antagonist.
Me now, especially when I win this belt. He's 5-5 in his last 10. He's an absolute crab, you know what I mean? People are calling Michael Chandler washed, and Michael Chandler knocked him out in 2 minutes. So what's Dan Hooker? You don't mention dead people. And that's what Dan Hooker's done. Dan Hooker's mentioned a dead person. I'm basically trying to say it was my fault he killed himself, saying that I'm not a good friend. Like, that's below the belt. What I said was nothing to do with his mum. Never said a bad word about his mum. What I said was an analogy for how bad his grappling is. And somehow, I'm the bad guy, and I'm the one who's in the wrong when he mentioned my...
The story is that a recent meeting quickly turned what was meant as a comment into widespread disapproval, shifting attention from the fight to Pimblett's words. The incident sparked backlash and added another layer of tension to an already heated rivalry.
Like Justin Gaethje, he's older than that lad. He's 2 years older than Dan Hooker.
That's true.
Dan Hooker can't put... Dan Hooker couldn't grapple a rapist off his ma. You know what I mean?
Okay, strong statement.
Dan Hooker shot back at Paddy Pimblett, criticizing him for staying silent in person while calling him fake behind his back. He said he was blindsided by the comments going public, believing they had been on good terms. The tension escalated further when Hooker brought up Ricky, a person close to Pimblett who passed away in 2022, adding an awkward and controversial element to the exchange.
You know, I don't actually give a fuck. I hate everyone ranked in front of me.
Yeah, I like it.
You know what I mean?
That's you can like me then.
If you're behind me, great bloke. Great bloke, you then. Great bloke, absolutely love it. Second you get above me, I'll fucking hate your guts. I hate that your head's attached to your body.
I like the style.
That sums up the full story and the origin of the current feud between them. Meanwhile, besides his issues with Hooker, Paddy Pimblett is also targeting Ilia Topuria.
And he made it into an issue, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? He made it into an issue when he tried to jump me with like 10 other people when I was stood on my own. He's lucky that I was on my own that day, because if it would have been with my team, we would have battered them all. So it's all from that. And, you know, as a fighter, I respect him. I think what he's done's brilliant. Like, I'd love to do what he's done, and I'm planning on doing it, but as a person, I think he's fake, and I think I'm...
He also downplayed Ilia Topuria's physical build, noting that the size difference between them cannot be ignored. He stressed that weight classes exist for a reason, and warned that if Topuria moves up to 130 hours, he would face a fight where a physical disadvantage could quickly become a problem.
Yeah, I think I beat him up as well, you know what I mean? Like, he's very small compared to me, you know what I mean? He's up to like here, he's not that wide. You've definitely seen that video of him and Panto just stood next to each other and they look the same weight. So, like, this weight class is for a reason. And if he wants to fight me at 155, it'll get...
In contrast, Khalil Roundtree criticized Cameron Chim, referencing their previously discussed matchup and portraying it as favorable for himself. He claimed Chim wouldn't be able to control him on the ground, which would naturally force the fight into striking. Roundtree used that scenario to question Chim's comfort in stand-up exchanges, implying that he tends to avoid taking hits.